Hi everyone, we are going to make scrunchie. So the scrunchie is like this with the elastic inside. And last time I had taught headband and we still didn't get chance to do the bow, which we'll be doing it today also. We'll be making a bow like that, double kind of a thing. And then I'm going to show you how you could put it on the headband, and the same thing you can do it on the scrunchie too. So this pattern, you can use it for, it's a multi-purpose kind, so you can use it for different things. So we'll make today this pattern also. I'm going to show you how you're going to do it. I'm going to show you how you can do a hand sewing also when you want to close that opening, because last time I just shown you on the machine, but on the scrunchie I'm going to show you both methods. On the scrunchie I'll show you the machine one, but for the bow I'm going to show you how you can finish all these opening with the hand stitch. Okay, that's called the invisible, it's called a slip stitch actually. Invisible hemming is something similar, but it's called a slip stitch. It just slips in between the folds and the thread gets hidden inside. So when you actually a little bit try opening it, it looks like a machine sewing. So we are going to learn today another new kind of a thing also. If you people, I don't know, I did not give a specific measurement for the fabric, because whatever you have old things in your house, but I have a woven fabric. We are not going to use a stretch fabric for a scrunchie because it's not needed, because you're going to have an elastic inside. And with the cotton fabric, it gives a good effect. You can use your old husband's shirt or whatever you have, any extra. I need actually 24-inch length. So you can go with the width if you have an old bed sheet or something, whatever, but I need 24 and the width is 3.5 inches. So if in case you don't have 24, go 20, go 16, that's fine, the length, because the concept of making is same. It's how much you want the bunchiness, like, you know, see, it's not stretching me more, it's still a little bit gathered. So if you want the strip to go like, see now this one, this is my old scrunchie with the elastic has completely gone loose. So this one is actually 16 inches in the length. So it's totally up to you how much length you want. And we'll be keeping opening because we have to put the elastic later on after us sewing. It's something similar to when you made the stretch band in the class. It's something similar to that. Okay, so we'll be doing a sort of a repetition of a headband in a form of scrunchie. The width, I want all of you to keep 3.5 so that you can put your safety pin inside and can push it. So 3.5 width, but the length, don't go less than 15, just between 15 to 24. I'm going to go for 24 because I like this bunchy effect. So generally what I do, you know, whenever I'm cutting the fabric, I go widthwise. As I discussed in the class, this is my salvage and I'm going to cut widthwise, like, because both the sides of my salvage was cut because I made a face mask out of this. So I'm going to use my center part. But whenever I'm using a center part, I need to have a starting point. So I'm going to a little bit straighten my line over here. So I need 3.5. So I'm just going to make a straight line. Okay, so this is my 3.5. I'm going a little bit more than 3.5 because I have to make a straight line. Remember that 24 inches, which I'm going to do over here, it may not give me a straight line. So that's why I'm going a little bit like a 4-inch. Okay, and I'm just going to draw a straight line like that. Just like how I said, I have a big long ruler, so I can put my 24 inches. So I have this long ruler, okay? So this is a yardstick, we call it, for us cutting, you know, generally we have long tables. So this, I use it to make my straight line. But if you people have got this small ruler, that's fine. So what generally you can just make a straight line, you know, edge of your fabric so that you get it straight. And then you can measure your 3.5 at 3-4 different spots. In this, you know, scrunchie, small prints, small dots, checkered, small prints look nice because it shows your, you know, the motifs too when you're wearing them. But if in case, whatever you have, just like how I said, we all are learning, so you don't have to be specific about it. It's just that when you're making for little girls, you know, and you want to look cute when you're putting it on their ponies. Okay, so what I've done, I have marked my 24-inch length. So this is the length of my scrunchie. This I call it length, so 24 inches. After you measure 24 inches on one side, just straighten your line with the scissors. Let's straighten this first and then we'll measure our 3.5 going that way. Praise, if you don't have a fabric, you can write these notes because then you'll have the size of scrunchie if in case you want to try it on your own. And you don't have to go 24 inches. You can cut a small piece of 10 inches, any rough fabric, whatever you have at home. so that at least you'll get an idea how the scrunchie is sewn, and then you can get a good long fabric and make it. So once you are done with that 24 inches on one side, now I want you to start measuring your 3.5 inches. Okay, so now I have this straight line. I'm going to cut this also and straighten it. You can see that blue color mark I have. I'm going to straighten this. So now what I generally like everyone to do, because what happens when you measure 3.5 over here and then you measure 3.5 on 24 inches, the width doesn't work. So the best idea is you have 3.5. You mark again 3.5. Remember, I made four inches. Now I'm going 3.5 actually, because I needed to straighten my fabric and I wasn't too sure that 3.5 will work. So 3.5 I marked from here. Again, a new line, 3.5 at this spot. Again, I'm going to move my fabric, go 3.5. So it's always a good idea to keep on marking, because your fabric generally, when they get printed or anything, the fabric moves, it shifts. Okay, so the alignment doesn't work out good. So do it like that and then you will never go wrong. So I've reached now my end of my 24 inches over here, and I'm going to measure that 3.5, and I'm just going to make a straight line. But that straight line, I'm not going to cut it, because I need to be sure that other side of it where I have to cut that line, it's 24 inches again. So if you have a small ruler, you can join these lines like this, join two spots, then move further, go on like that. Even though I have a long ruler, I still like using the small ruler, because what happens, these rulers, they don't fall out good when you are doing a long straight line. It's okay when you're doing short lines, but when it comes to long, it's a good idea to use the small ruler and do it. Small ruler means this is 18-inch ruler that I'm using. So once this is done, I want all of you to check your other length. Is it 24 inches? If you have a measuring tape, check with that. If you have a long ruler, just calculate 18-inch or 12-inch, whatever you have. So be sure that 24 inches is good on the other side too. Because in this, you have to match your sewing. It's exactly, the sewing part is exactly like the headband, but we are going to leave bigger opening because this time we are putting elastic inside. So, okay, so you'll have a long piece going like that. Okay, so 24 inches your length and the width is 3.5 inch. We have this long strip. So what happens, if you remember when we did the headband, we had that opening very small. Luckily it was a stretchy fabric, you could adjust it. But now with the woven fabric, it doesn't stretch. So you need to have a little bit bigger opening. And on top of that, we have to put the elastic also inside. So when you put the elastic inside, it's fine. It's the sewing part of that elastic gets a little bit difficult. If you're going to use a machine, it gets more difficult. If you're doing with the hand, then it's simple. Okay, then you don't need a bigger opening. But right now I'm going for a bigger opening. So we're going to leave a little bit bigger opening. So what I would like all of you to do, go into your right side of your fabric. Okay, right side. This is your right side. This is your wrong side. So go into your right side, and on one side, okay, this shorter side, you're going to measure 2 inches. Okay, so just go 2 inches over here and 2 inches over here. Okay, so you measure 2 inches. Just put a chalk mark or whatever ballpoint, whatever you have. Okay, and put 2 inches over here. So you have this, and then I want you to, the presser foot we'll be using, it's a 1/4 inch. Okay, remember with the needle and the side of your presser foot is a 1/4 inch. Okay, difference. So when we'll be sewing this scrunchie, we'll be using a 1/4 inch. So for over here, we need to keep seam allowance 1/4 inch. And I want you to do it on the right side of the fabric. It'll be hidden in your sewing, so don't worry. Because, and the reason is I'm going to show you why I'm doing it on the right side. Okay, so when I'm doing a tailor chalk, it's a little bit thicker. So I go a little bit outside in my drawing because this tailor chalk is thick. So this gives me exactly 1/4 inch. So whenever I'm keeping the scale a little bit away from the 1/4 inch kind. But this is just whoever is using tailor chalk, because it's a little bit more thicker. Ballpoint has a sharp edge, so it works out okay. So I'm going to put a 1/4 inch line over here. Okay, so you see these two lines? You can see that this is 1/4 inch and it's finishing at 2 inches, and this is 2 inches. This will be our opening, okay? Which I'm going to explain, don't get worried about it. So the same thing we are going to do on the other side too, okay? So from this edge, you measure 2 inch here and 2 inch here. So once you have done these marking, I want you to, actually, we are supposed to iron it, but I'm not going to iron it over here. Okay, so what I generally would do, just fold in your 1/4 inch. That's why I made the mark on the right side. So you get to see where you have to fold. Exactly on that 1/4 inch till 2 inch, just crush it with your nails. Okay, no ironing is needed because these are cotton fabric. But if in case needed, you people can iron it. But for me, nails always work good. So just for that 2 inches, just fold in your 1/4 inch. Do the same thing over here, and we're going to go on the other end also. So this will be an opening, okay? Opening, and then we'll be finishing with that hiding stitch or with the sewing over here on the machine. That's why we need this fold, so that it matches with the entire length of our scrunchie. That's why we need this fold to be exact a 1/4 inch. Okay, so do it on the other side and again crush it with your nails. Okay, so now this side is done. Now we can go on the other side and follow the same step. So once we are done, now we have to be ready for our sewing. Okay, so now this is your right side. So now go towards your wrong side. And now if you'll be sewing on this side, you can snip your, remember we did that 2 inch mark, that you did it on your right side. So what you can do, you can snip it a little bit so that you'll know your mark where it is, that 2 inch, or you can put your tailor chalk because you'll know where you can stop. You can put a tailor chalk mark at that 2 inch only on one side, wherever you'll be sewing. Like suppose I'm going to sew like this. I'm just going to snip a little bit over here. You can put a tailor chalk mark. And if not, you can put a pin to let you know where your 2 inches is. So you can do anything, okay? So whatever you are comfortable, that 2 inch. So you'll know that whenever you're sewing, you have to stop over here. And the same thing over here too. You can snip this side or put a tailor chalk mark or put a pin just to know your 2 inch. So now when you're finished marking on both the sides, your 2 inch, because you need to know where to start and where to stop. Okay, we need that opening to turn it inside out and to put our elastic also. So now once you have done that, it's exactly like the headband. You go face to face like that. Okay, go face to face and start putting your pins. So it'll be like a tube, but tube will be the good side is hidden inside. So just match your edges. So Sangeeta, even if your scissor didn't cut good, it's fine, just maintain your 1/4 inch. Let the crooked side or whatever, it's uneven cut, it's fine. Okay, so now this, again, we'll continue putting the pins. Putting the pins, at least you're sure your lines are matching, you're sewing, and then it's not uneven when you reach this end. When you finish sewing, then it can go a little bit on the bias. So it's always a good idea to put the pins. So I'm reaching the end, and again, I can finish pinning up over here. Okay. Now I'm ready to go on the machine. So wherever you're comfortable, if you're lefty, righty, whatever, but you can start sewing. And now what we are going to sew first, how our starting line will be from here. This is my 2 inch, that length that we had. So I'm going to start a little bit away from my 2 inch, come and do my back stitch. Okay, and that 2 inch mark, and then continuously keep on doing 1 foot sewing. Okay, 1 foot of the presser foot. Okay, not the foot of the measurement, but the presser foot. We are going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera and we are going to go on the machine now. So this is, you can see my blue mark. That's my 2 inch. So I did not make a slit. I just put that 2 inch mark for myself. Okay, so I'm going to start like that. So I'm going to go a little bit away from my 2 inch. This is my 2 inch, but my needle, I'm putting it a little bit away because I have to do my back stitch. Check your machine if it's in the straight stitch, because some people did some zigzag sewing. So just check your machine before you start. It's in the straight stitch. Okay, so once this is done, I'm going to do my back stitch. Okay, back stitch, and now I'm going to do my straight sewing. So I'm now about to reach my 2 inch. See, over here I put a pin for me to know that that's my 2 inch where I need to stop. Okay, so all of you just remember, you need to stop over there, and then again press your reverse button, and then just 1-2 stitch to lock it. Okay, the reverse stitch is meant for locking up your stitches. So when you're turning it inside out, the stitch don't come out, it locks it. Okay, so I did my reverse stitch and I'm done with that. So now you can take the fabric, the tube out. Okay, we call it a tube because it looks like a tube only. So now you can pull it out. So now you just trim off these threads ends to make it go neater. So now all of you should have these opening. Okay, this 2 inch opening on both the sides. So I hope you people haven't sewn out throughout. Okay, just remember we need both these openings. Okay, so if all of you have it like this, then just turn inside out. Now, to turn it inside out, it's not easy. We need a safety pin. Okay, so I'd asked you people to get safety pins with you. So this is a safety pin. So how do you do it? So you have this one side, any one side you can take it and just put your pin like this, okay, outside like that, okay. Do it upwards because we are going to use this end to put it inside. So go like this, okay, and just close it. So leave it hanging like that, and then you need to start pushing it inside the tube. Okay, so I'm going to show it. Now I'm going to push it inside and keep on pushing, and yeah, let it travel because it's a long distance. So I'm pushing it like that. So once you start pushing, don't go too much. First, make it comfortable enough for it to go. Okay, it's always a starting, because it might get entangled over here. So go like this. Okay, travel more and try coming on the other end. So what happens once it starts getting inside, because the pin is short, so you have to make it comfortable. See, now it's going in like the tube, like it's coming out good. So you take it out on the other end like this. You should have it coming out like this. Okay, my pin has come out on the other side. No, it's not really nice. It's looking cute. Yeah, that's good. That's good. No, the scrunchie is such a cute idea. I loved it. You can use for kids, for your own self. So when you're showering, just put it, tie your hair. So yeah. Okay, so now exactly like the headband. Remember when we had sewed, I showed you a way of doing it. The same way we are going to do for the scrunchie too. So you come over here. Okay, you have your two openings. Claudette, last time you had got confused with this opening, so watch me do it. You know what? You people can go one-on-one with me other days, okay? Mondays and Wednesdays. See, whenever you have a long thing going, okay, you start from here, you watch this end, you keep on following this line, and then you grab it together over here and match, okay? Because generally what happens when you are watching this end, you're watching this end and you might join it and you'll realize it's sort of twisted. So now you come over here and you bring your other end. So basically I'm folding it. Okay, so both my ends, these are my joints. And now when you have it like this, now this is exactly like what I did for my scrunchie. Whenever you have to sew something, this is your right side facing right like this. But when I'm actually sewing, I need to match my right side matching, and you start pinning up. So you pin up from here. So when you pin up, your right side is facing your right side. Okay, give it a try. Just pin up as I'm saying. Don't get confused. First pin up and then see what has actually happened. That did you pin it up right? We are going to check it. Okay, so once you're pinned up, just do like this and see, did you pin up the right way? Are you getting the good side, like a stitch side, or are you getting raw edge outside? So all of you pin, just like how I showed you, match, do it anyway. Do whatever you understand in your own way. Try it yourself. And if you are not getting any raw edge on your other side like this, it means you're good. If you're getting raw edge, it means you are not pinning it up the right way. So now what, you leave that pin on, and let's tackle now the ends. Okay, let's tackle the ends and now pin them. Okay, this is your pin in the center, which you said that you pin, all of you pin good. Now do it in that joint. Okay, the joint will be the one that you'll be stitching. So this is two ends. You can say the two ends of the headband. You're matching one end to the other end. And in that, you are going with the edge, that 3.5-inch length. Okay, the 3.5-inch length. You're pinning two sides, both the sides of 3.5 inches, matching with each other. Now match the other side. So you already have the center pin, which you all said it's good. So now where you had the center pin, just make it go horizontal, okay, instead of vertical, so that you can see it is good. And then you can remove your middle pin out. And let's turn it on the good side and see, did you have a finished edge like that? See, a circle looks so simple, but how confusing it can get when it comes to actually sewing these things. So now what I want is that you have this pinned up, take it on your machines, and this whole length, we are going to do double sewing in the beginning. That's your reverse stitch, okay? Do your back stitch, 1-2 stitch, continuously, keep on removing your pins. Now this is a very narrow space, so just adjust with your thing. If in case you have to little bit adjust it, You can lift your presser foot and do it, but I think so it should be good. Okay, it's not a very long distance. So do your back stitch and do your back stitch. So all the stitching is only happening in that 3.5 inch width. Okay, we are not touching anything from that 24 inches length of the scrunchie. Now be sure, match your fabric. If you've taken your pin out, okay, match it. And now you can do your back stitch. Okay, in the beginning, go with your back stitch and just 1-2 stitch, and then again do your edge sewing. That will be again your 1/4 inch sewing. And when you are taking your second pin out, you can again sort of match your fabric just to be sure that you're catching both the fabrics and there's no fold in between coming over here. That's why I left 2 inches opening so that you can handle it. Otherwise, you can have a small opening also, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, but it's how good you are tackling it on the machine. So I went a little bit wider. So now you are going to reach the end. So just match your fabric good. Okay, so I matched both the fabrics. And again, I'm going to come over here and do my back stitch, lock it up. So I locked it and I'm good now. I can take it out. So we should all have this clean finish. Okay, so this clean finish like that. And this is my raw edge. And I'm going to trim off my threads, extra threads that I have. So now I had asked for a 3/8 of an inch of an elastic. I don't have that 3/8 because it wasn't available when I was doing shopping in the lockdown. So, but that's fine. But 3/8 of an inch elastic is really good. I do have a 1/4 inch. I do have a 1/2 inch. Okay, so you can use whatever elastic you have. I won't recommend 1 inch because that'll be too difficult for you to pull it. But anything less than 1/2 inch is good. So I'm going to use my 1/4 inch elastic. Okay, so for this, the length of my elastic has to be 6.5 inches. Okay, so you keep your ruler or measuring tape, whatever you have, and measure 6.5 inches and cut that elastic. Okay, so now I have the 6.5 inches. I've already cut my length. So I want all of you to put on one end of your elastic, just put a small safety pin. Okay, so just I put one small, leave it open, and then you have your scrunchie over here. Okay, so this is my scrunchie. Remember the seam that people just made. Okay, so just pin it up in the center of that scrunchie. Okay, you can do it on the stitching length. Okay, where you stitched, I just put it over there and just close the pin. So it sorts of stays there. Okay, it stays with the scrunchie. And then the loose end, you can again use the long pin. I like the long safety pin when I'm putting it in between, but for this one, I just put a small pin. So in the other end, you can put your safety pin. And again, we are going to go inside the whole tube. Okay, so we're going to travel inside. So put it inside this. So this is your starting point, and make your elastic travel. Now the elastic length is 6.5 inches. This is 24 inches. So you'll need to really push it completely nicely. So it'll start bunching. Okay, so now see my elastic is going inside. So keep on pushing and see it's already started bunching because the length is short. See the starting of my elastic, I have 2 ends of my elastic. Okay, so one end of my elastic, okay, like this end of my elastic. Okay, I put the pin, and you know where the seam that we made, the new seam, when we joined that 3.5 inch length, I pinned it with that so that it doesn't move from there. So I have the steady position over here. So I pinned up the one end of the elastic to this, the seam that I made. And the other loose end, other open end, I put another safety pin and I let it travel in between the tube to come out at the same starting point. So see, my elastic has now come out like this. And I already have my old one, which was pinned up with the seam allowance, the seam over here, okay? So I have 2 pins. So one end of elastic is here, the starting point, and one went inside the tube and it has come out. And I have this second end over here. So I need both these ends coming at the same opening. And once you have got it, I want all of you to have a needle and thread and just thread your needle. And we are going to tag these elastic together, because what happens, this elastic might go inside back again. So you don't want that to happen, okay? Once when you have the safety pins, it's safe, the place is already there, but we need to tag this. So have a needle and thread, just a regular thread, okay? A regular needle, hand needle, and you can make a double knot. So some people, they just make, you can hand tack it, the elastic, or you can go on the machine and sew it. But I like, before you go on the machine, it's good idea to sew the elastic so that it doesn't open up, when you're sewing. So once you have got both these ends, okay, so you have this end over here, okay, this end. And now I'm going to take this safety pin out, because remember I pinned it to the seam. So I'm going to take it out, but be careful so that it doesn't go back inside. So hold it and then remove your pin. So I have this elastic over here now, my starting point, and I have the one with this long pin. So I'm going to take it out more, push it outside, pull this also a little bit outside so that it doesn't go back inside. Now I'm having both these elastic ends. So now whenever we have to sew these elastic, we don't do it like a regular seam. We overlap it. Why we overlap it? Because then it sort of flattens our elastic. It stays flat. If you do it together like that, what happens? You can feel that very thick. So we overlap. Elastics are always overlapped. Overlap means half an inch or 3/4 of an inch, whatever you want to overlap with. Okay, so it goes like this on top of each other, flat. So once that is done, I want all of you to pin up, you sew both these elastics together. Wherever the overlapping is happening, just sew it. Long stitch, small stitch, whatever you are comfortable, just do it. We just need it to stay together. So if you don't want to use the machine, you can leave the tag, but then do it more stronger. If you don't want to do on the machine, I'm just going to show it on the machine also, so that you'll get idea both ways you can do it. But I would always recommend you to tack it first, especially for a scrunchie. When you're doing it on pajamas or something, it's a totally different story. That's what I'm saying. Putting elastic is done in various ways where you have to put it, but the method stays the same of overlapping each other, never sewn in like a regular sleeve. Okay, so now once you have that, so what you can do for putting elastic, now this is a narrow one. If you have a 1-inch elastic, just do zigzag sewing, because zigzag sewing, even when your machine it's getting laundered in a washing machine, the elastic won't come out, because the zigzag makes it more stronger. So you can now take it on the machine if you want to. Otherwise, the hand tack is good enough if you have made it stronger. So I'm going to change my machine into zigzag sewing. Okay, so now I'm going to sew it. So when I'm going to do the zigzag sewing, I really need to pull my elastic really out, because I don't want this fabric to be sewn in. So I'm going to put it like this. Remember, I've already tagged it, so it's still comfortable for me to sew. So I'm going to put my presser foot down, and I'm just going to do my zigzag machine on the overlap. I don't have to travel the whole elastic. I just have to do where I overlap the 2 layers. So now I'm just, no back stitch needed. You just go with your zigzag sewing. Okay, so your zigzag sewing, you just little bit, because it's elastic, sometimes it moves the fabric, you can a little bit adjust it. Okay, and then you can do your back stitch, or you can turn it, because over here doing back stitch is again very complicated because elastic rolls over. So what you can do, I already got some zigzag, you can see it over here. I got zigzag, I can do one more time and I'm good. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it off now, and I'm going to show what that zigzag. So even if it's going crooked, it's fine. It's going to be hidden inside. Okay, so this is my zigzag sewing. Do you see it? Okay, zigzag sewing. 2 lines. I already have my hand tag, and this is good. So you can pull it to be sure that, okay, you got it good. It's okay, it's not cutting off. So once you have done that, okay, so now we can go inside out. Okay, so I have my elastic. So check all of you, did you get it like this? And we need that opening. So now for that opening that we all have, okay, so that's basically our 3.5-inch opening, because we remember we did 2-inch, but we sewed 1/2 inch. So this is our opening. And if you remember, we did that a 1/4 inch. We just crushed it inside. So what I want all of you to do, fold in your half, that a 1/4 inch, fold in and start pinning up your opening and match the edges. Okay, when you're folding in, you remember this 1/4 inch folding that I told you, crush it with your nails. So this, fold it again inside, and you anyhow you have that line also outside. That's why I made it do it on the wrong side. So you can again fold it that same line and match it good. The matching should be nice because the seam that's stitching of that 3.5 inch also need to match. So while you're pinning up, match those two seam also. And Rekha, your machine needle broke off. I don't know if you managed to put the needle back, but be careful when you're doing this seam. Again, this is a little bit thick. So all of you, when you're traveling over here, if your machine, the needle gets stuck, just hold on, bring your needle up and do it manually. Okay, just to move your machine manually. Then don't put it on your foot because your needle, if it's delicate, it's 12 or 14, then it tends to break. So your half inch, the 1/4 inch, finish off your pinning up, okay? So for this, you all should not have anything, any extra fabric bunching over here. If it's bunching, it means you did not fold it exactly at the 1/4 inch that I had asked you to do it, because otherwise you'll never get a gathered or any puckering over here. If your folding is maintained, because remember we did a 1/4 inch sewing also. So if you're folding in matches, then you shouldn't get any pleat in the end. If you're getting it, it means go back and start off folding, checking again your line if it's good. So once we have a stitch pinning up like that, now we can go on the machine, okay? So now wherever is you're starting, the 2-inch mark that we had, just go do a little bit back stitch and again go edge sewing. Remember when we did the mask, we did the edge sewing, but that time it was sewn from inside. But over here, there's no stitching. So you really have to match both the folds together to get a good edge stitch so that when you see from both the side, it should look neat. So let's start the sewing. Take your first pin out. You don't want to break the needle. And when you're taking the pin out, you can match your sides. See these two ends, just match them nicely, overlap them. Not overlap, it should be just matching with each other. And back stitch is just 1-2 stitches. You don't have to go completely. Okay. Keep on taking your pins out one by one. Be careful when you'll be reaching that to the seam, the center seam. Your needle, be careful with it, okay? Don't break it. If it goes a little bit hard, just go manually, okay? Little by little. And when you're reaching that end, that wherever the 2 inches, just do 1-2 back stitch and that's it. Okay, so I have this, see, you can see the seam going. And cut off your thread, you're done. So once that scrunchie is done, just trim off your threads, extra threads. Okay, and this has now become a little bit flat. So you just have to travel your elastic in that area to make it puffy. Okay, wherever you stitch, it goes a little bit flat over here. So just let your fabric travel in the elastic to make it go good. Okay, so that's a scrunchie. So now what I want, just have any piece of paper, and I want the length going 4.5 inch, okay, and the width going 2.5. No, 2 inches is good. Yeah, 2 inches. So this width is 2 inches. Okay, so width is 2 inches and 4.5. Actually, I need 9 inches, but go 4.5, and I can show you how you can do your cutting. Okay. Okay, so this is 4.5 inch, 4.5 inch, 4.5 inch, and then this is 2 inches. Okay, 2 inches. So we need that rectangle. Just cut it. Okay, so now we have this rectangular piece, which is 4.5, 4.5, and 2 inches and 2 inches. Okay, so what I want all of you to do now, you fold it. Okay, so this side, the 2 inches one gets folded. Okay, so it becomes 1 inch wide, and you have a fold going like that. Okay, got it? So keep that fold like this. Okay, so I have my fold. This is my fold line. Okay, so this is my fold line. So suppose this is 0. Okay, suppose my fold line, this is my fold line. Okay, fold line. And this is my 0 point. And this is my 1 inch. You people all know we had folded 2 inch paper. And now this I want you to do 1.5 inch. Okay, just mark 1.5 inch over here, the open side. This is just to give that shape, I'm just giving you a rough idea of how to get that shape, the pointy shape, okay, of this. How do you get that? So 1.5 inch, okay. And then from this corner, just go 1/2 inch inside. That is just to make your the shape, or just you know what, you people don't go half an inch, I don't know, whatever you'll be comfortable in sewing. Just do some kind of a shape. Okay, like a pointy shape. Like you could suppose you are just making a curvish, not a straight line, because this is my straight line from 0 to that 1.5. This is my straight line, but go a little bit curvier outside. That is just to, you know, how you, when you make a bow, you have that curvy kind. I'm not going too much curvy because you'll have issue with your sewing and doing it, because you people, I've noticed, not good in curves. So just go a little bit, but this part I'm keeping this as a point, because we are going to sew over there, pivot from there. Okay, we are going to do that. So now what I want you people just to cut on that curve. So cut on that curve. When you open up, you get a shape like this. Okay, you get a shape like this. Okay, this is your shape. So this is what we are going to make our bow. And how do you do this? Now this is your open end, this is your curve end. So get your fabric, the same fabric, whatever you used for your scrunchie. So we basically need a 9-inch length. Okay, so I need fabric going a little bit more than the 9-inch. Okay, a little bit 9-inch, and the width, you know, is 2 inches. So look for a fabric, and we're going to cut 2 pieces. So it's 2 pieces we are going to cut. That's the shape. Okay, so yeah, I'm just went pointy over here because we are going to stop and pivot from there and come. So what we are going to do, we need basically a 9-inch length. I put the right side on top. I need to mark it on the wrong side. So this is my open, this is my 2 layers, and I'm going to measure my 9-inch. Okay, just to be sure I'm having 9-inch and I'm not wasting fabric. So 9-inch, but don't forget I have 2 layers of 9 inches. Okay, so my 9 inches is basically ending over here. I did cut 4.5, but 9 inches we'll be needing because I cut the fabric. So I have these 2 fabrics, 2 layers like this. Okay. Now now this is actually where my pattern will be going. So I'll have my pattern going like this. This is my one end of the fold, the fabric, and it'll go like this. So this is actually my 2 pieces. I'll be folding, cutting it like this. Okay, so this is like you draw over here. Okay, you'll be drawing over here. So I'm going to draw. Let's do it like this so that you'll understand. So this is where my curve is. So I'm going to draw, but I'm same time holding the paper. I'm drawing this line. Okay, I'm drawing it completely like this. So just watch me first. Okay. So you draw your half of your bow. I made the pattern half because what we'll be doing once this half is done, this actually is on a fold. So I'm going to flip my paper, go like this, and I'm going to match this line and make my other side of the bow. Okay, so basically it's the same pattern. I'm using it 2 times to make my bow. So you can cut this pattern in 9 inches and repeat the shape. But I like doing it like that because I've seen whenever you do it in a 9-inch one, you're sometimes the shape doesn't match of both the ends. So now I have a bow going like this. So you see my 2 ends. This is my one end and this is my other end. What I did is I put my pattern like this. I drew on one side and then I brought it like this and matched this line with this end. And I drew the other side for the bow because I need 2 layers of bows. Because see, this is my top layer and this is my second bow at 2 when I finished sewing. And that's my pointy ends. Okay, so once you have it like this, the shape, now you can cut it, both of them together, and before you cut it, pin it up so that your fabric doesn't move, the bottom fabric. So just to make it safe and your shape has to really match. So now you can start cutting all around. So I have it like this, 2 fabrics. So I'll have 2 of them because we have to sew all this around. And now we have to keep an opening, okay? So you have the center line. So from there, just measure half an inch or 3/4, whatever you're comfortable, half an inch over here or half an inch over here or 3/4 over here, 3/4 over here. So 3/4 of an inch I'm going over there and 3/4 of an inch I'm going over here. Okay. So this is my center line. So what we need to do, you start sewing over here, double back stitch. Keep on sewing. I'm going to come over here, come to this point, leave your needle inside, pivot and go again. All this is a 1/4 inch sewing, okay? The edge sewing that we call it, using a presser foot as a width of a stitch. So let's bring it together. Remember, we had already pinned them up, which is 2 pins are good enough. We don't have to now pin all the sides because it's not going to move. Okay, so now I have that opening. So we have to stitch all throughout. So this is my starting point, and I'm going to go all around, come and do my back stitch over here. And this is my opening to take my bow out. So now all of you do the same thing, just do your back stitch and don't forget to mark for your opening. And generally I like doing it in the center of the bow because when you'll be tying the bow, that seam where whatever you've done, edge stitching or inside invisible hemming, it'll get hidden inside the center of the bow. So now you do your back stitch. Okay, and once the back stitch is done, now just do your 1 foot sewing. Okay, match the edge of your that bow. So you're sewing basically 2 layers and they're going right side facing right. Okay, the stitching has to be outside. So just remember it should be face to face and you're sewing the edge of the fabric. So when I'm going to reach that pointy edge, I'm not going to stitch all through, okay? Now you have to, when you become a sewer, you're watching your eye where exactly your 1/4, like a quarter stitch where it stops. So for me, the quarter stitch is basically roughly over here. So if you are not a good sewer, you want to mark it, you can use your ruler and put a mark for you, a 1/4 inch. Okay, a 1/4 inch. So you'll know your needle has to stop over here. Don't sew through it. That's not the right way. You have to bring it over here, leave your needle inside and pivot, move your machine, the needle, actually the fabric, and then you start sewing the other side. So I'm about to reach that point. If you in case, just use your hand wheel so that you don't go much more further. So I've reached that point, one little bit over here. I've reached that point. Now I'm going to leave the needle inside, lift my presser foot up and move my fabric. And now continue again, matching your fabric a 1/4 inch and start sewing. I'm coming at the other pointy edge, do the same thing, measure your 1/4 inch. Okay, so now again, now pivot and come again down and come to that opening and again do back stitch and you're done. Okay, so you have that spacing, that opening of 1.5 inch, and now pull your fabric out and cut it. Now, if you want the pointy edge to really come out nice, so generally what I recommend if you want the pointy to come out really good, I always say just trim off this much fabric out. Okay, leave 1/8 of an inch. If you want it to look rounded, you don't even have to bother. See, for this one, I didn't even bother. So I have this little bit rounded edge, but you can make it a little bit good pointy. So cut off that 1/8 of an inch. And you don't have to go completely, just that pointy edge is good enough. And do it from the other side too. So just make it thinner. And now take it inside out. And before you do, just cut off these threads, remove your pins, and now just bring it inside out. You have that opening and just push it, okay? This you can push with your finger. It allows you because that opening, it's wide enough for you to bring one end out, pull it out like that. Okay, so see this end is coming out good. And if in case you want the pointy end to come out nicely, you can use your pencil and keep on pushing that pointy part. Remember, you had that pointy part, but be careful. The pencil shouldn't be so sharp. See, mine is coming out like that. So don't break off your fabric so that the point, you don't want a hole to be created over there. So just push that end. And there's another way. When you really want the end to be pointy, you can always use a pin and take it out. Okay? But we need not bother because this is also still cute enough. And take the other end out also the same way. You can use a screwdriver or whatever, anything like just to bring this point out. Okay, so now both your points are out. Okay, so your bow is done. Now the same bow that you can use it on your headband. Okay, now I'm going to put it on the scrunchie. But before I do that, I want to teach you that invisible hemming. Remember, we did this, the edge sewing. I want to teach you invisible hemming. So whatever thread needle, like just have it and just put it inside that. Okay, so let's do it. You can go single thread, you can go double thread. I like doing single thread because it looks like a machine sewing from inside. So what you do, remember you had that 1/4 inch when we did our scrunchie. We had that 1/4 inch crushed nicely. We did not crush for this. You can do it in the beginning if you want. Otherwise, it's just a small opening. You can match it. Okay, just look it inside and just do your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, just like over here and over here, just see it and put a pin, because we need to put the pin so that when we are doing a slip stitch, that's called a slip stitch, where I'm going to teach. So how you know where your opening is, and if in case you are not sure where your opening is, you can open up and see. That's my opening. Okay, it's gaping from here, so I know where my starting point is. So I'm going to now use my needle and I'm going to hide the knot inside. Okay, I don't want the knot to come outside, so you just put it inside like this. So you hide your knot inside. Okay, so my knot, see, you can see it outside. I can push it inside. Now when I'm doing my slip stitch, now what the slip stitch is all about, I have this one side fold, I have that second fold over here. Okay, so I have this 2 folds matching each other. Okay, these folds are matching. This is what slip stitch has to be. You need fold to do your slip stitch. So now when I took my knot out, this is my first fold. This is my second fold. So my needle has to travel from here opposite to the other fold. And it has to be exactly parallel. Parallel means it has to be the same. I can't go like that ahead. So my needle has to go in the same spot as it's over here. It's going on the other fold and the needle is traveling inside. The needle is getting hidden inside the fold. Okay, if you see the needle, it means when you'll finish stitching, you'll see that thread. We don't want the thread to be seen. It's called slip stitch. It slips inside the fold and the thread gets hidden inside. So if my needle is not seen by you people, it means it's inside the fold and my thread won't be seen. Okay, so you pull it out. So what exactly actually has happened is I've got this small stitch. Do you see it? See, I'm lifting it. See, this is the small stitch. See, you can see that thread, the white thread I'm showing, that needle. This is the thing. So it traveled from one fold to the other fold and it went inside and came out. See, it came out from here. Okay, so this was my original. It came out from here, went to the other side fold, went inside the fold fabric and it came out over here. Now when I have to do my second stitch, this is my fold over here and this is my other fold. So I have to travel opposite it and let my needle travel inside that first fold. Thank you so much, all of you, and all of you take rest and I'll see you on Thursday again. Okay, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.